Good morning, everyone. I'm the dude over there, and today we play the hardest Fire Emblem game known to the community. Fire Emblem Awakening Lunatic Plus mode is what I would have said if I hadn't lost a cartridge. So instead, we're gonna play the second hardest Fire Emblem game, Fire Emblem Fates Conquest. Is also what I would say if I had a capture card. So instead we have to settle for this random game nobody's ever heard of. I think it's called Thracia 783. In all seriousness, Thracia 776 is a midquel of Fire Emblem Genealogy of the Holy War that follows the son of Quan, Leaf. Thracia is highly regarded as the hardest Fire Emblem game, save for higher difficulty options a la Lunatic Plus, Lunatic Reverse, Hard 5, and Lunatic Conquest. I tried to play it before, but I never had the motivation to stick it through to the end, so I thought, what better way to complete Thracia than to share my experience with you. If you like what you see, please like and subscribe as it helps idiots like me who suck at promoting videos. Now let's begin. For once, I actually read the story for this game. However, if you ask me to recite it plot beat for plot beat, I would be stumped. Anyway, in Chapter 1 we take control of the orphan prince, Leaf, as he works together with Abel, of the Fianna Freeblades, to rescue his beloved Nana and basically Sister Marita. First thing to know about Thracia is that the capture command is basically essential in this game. You start with 0 gold, and the only way to get valuables like weapons or the overpowered vulnerary is to capture your foes, which means we have to rely on units like Finn and Dagdar with huge builds to capture our foes. We clear the map, but not before leveling Tanya to level 20, against the first boss. Also, I have to come clean about something before we move on. In Thracia, you can input a series of commands to activate a special mode called Paragon Mode. It basically gives Paragon to everyone without giving Paragon to anyone. I turned it on for my first playthrough, but not because I wanted to cheese through the game, and trust me, I will cheese some parts of this game, but it was because Thracia has a reputation of being hard. So I'm going to use all the tools I know to give myself a slightly easier time. And believe me, this isn't going to matter much in the late game. Not even 2 chapters in, and we already reach the first chapter that has a guiding condition. Basically, if we save all the villagers in this map, we'll have access to another chapter. And we want to get this guiding chapter, since it will give us a healer and access to the hammer and staff. We recruit another archer, Ronan, and now I'll discuss an interesting mechanic from Thracia, movement stars. Movement stars are personalized to each character that give said character a 5% chance to move again at the end of their turn. This will lead to situations where it'll be wasted, since you don't want to move again, or an opportunity to pull off a good play. Oh, and before I forget, movement and build will level up in this game as well. I don't know when I'll get another chance to say it, so I'll say it now. Anyway, like before, we beat the bandits after a single reset, save the villages, and max out Leaf's level before ceasing and leaving. Chapter 2X introduces Fog of War, and you know, if it were any other game, I wouldn't complain, but Thracia makes Fog of War annoying by not letting you look at the map. For these chapters, I put a picture of the map on another tab so that way I don't accidentally kill my units due to poor placement. For this chapter, we face off against the leader of the bandits, Lithis. He's holding our future cleric captive and recruits a scary Myrmidon with a killing edge to help protect him. We can recruit all of these people if we don't kill them, but to make sure we avoid the scary Myrmidon man, we need to, I don't know, wild concept, see the map! But that being said, this map actually isn't that bad. Like, having to navigate the darkness sucks, but it's not as bad as it'll be in the late game, where everything gets thrown at you. Even the kitchen sink. Oh god. Oh, and to recruit Lithis, you have to capture him. It's not hard since the only thing he holds is a scrap of paper with star durability. However, it's only in Chapter 3 do we realize how busted this wadded up tissue really is. This is a Crusader scroll, specifically the Hazul scroll. The Crusader scrolls modify the holder's growth rates and guarantee the negation of a critical hit. There are a ton of these guys littered in the game, but getting your hands on one will change the game in your favor. These are valuable treasures that will come in handy later into the game. But how is Chapter 3? Well, it was another Seas map where you need to rescue children inside a fort for benefits later. And now that I mentioned the fort, I now gotta explain another cool thing about Thracia, I say, as I groan internally. See, Fire Emblem maps can either be inside or outside of a building, and it was done for either story or aesthetic reasons. But Thracia decides that when you go inside a building, you go inside a building. Meaning that mounted units that have been useful to us this far, like Finn, now need to nerf themselves in order to join the rest of the army. Basically, mounted units have to resort to using swords and bows when unmounted, which is fine I guess, but the ranks are low and the only way to train them is to unmount them. It's not worth it and you're better off just not deploying them on indoor chapters. Wow, I've been talking about all these little mechanics and not the actual chapter. Well, the chapter is a chapter. We give Lithis a sword to fight back, open chests, not use a shop since we still have no gold, and seize. In chapter 4, we lose everything. Our army, gone. Our items, gone. Our gold was actually not taken, since we still have no gold. But thankfully, to our aid, Mr. Untouchable himself, Prince Set, arrives, with Forsetti, to free us with the world's most mediocre task force. With an unmounted unit, a Myrmidon, and a thief that is so garbage that it makes Lithis look good by comparison. We also get 2 more unmounted units in the form of Fergus and Karen. Only one of these 2 will be important, and it's up to you to figure out which one. To get to the guidance chapter for this map, we need all the civilians to escape. This map takes me forever to complete. Trying to keep everyone alive while getting their equipment back is so challenging, with the constant reinforcements coming at us from all directions. When we finally get to the end of the map, I can finally discuss the objective as we recruit Dulcin for rescuing the children in the prior chapter. This chapter's objective is to escape. Normally in an escape map, you escape with the main lord to end the chapter. But in Thracia, you are punished if you don't have everyone escape. Rather than explain it myself, I'll use Emblem to make a point. It's dumb, so after everyone escapes the salty Splatoon, we escape with Leaf and end the map. Genealogy antagonists Julius and Ishtar get a cutscene where they exposition some things, but since I haven't played Genealogy on the channel yet, it's just useless gibberish. Because we save civilians in chapter 4, we get a guidance chapter where Prince Ced of Celeste leads a small resistance to save kids that were captured by Raedric and the Cult of Lopter. So we save all of them, recruit a new character in the form of Asbel, Leaf's BFF, and escape after having Lithis and Lara steal a bunch of fire tomes and vulneraries. Chapter 5 is pretty famous in Thracia. This is because we see Abel get stoned after saving Leaf's future wife. That's not me partaking in shipping. Leaf literally tells Nana that he wants her to stay and wait for him so that way he can ask her mother for their blessing. Not in this chapter, but later in chapter 24 or something. Anyway, it's important we save Nana this chapter because Nana is our only healer until we get Sophia back. Not only that, but our convoy's looking pretty full and Nana's got some free space for vulneraries and heal staffs. After escaping and effectively leaving Abel behind, we find ourselves in another escape map where our mounted units can finally ride their horses. We need to escape this chapter as soon as possible while also avoiding any enemies along the way. If we Fire Emblem engage with the enemy, a large horde of powerful foes will charge at us. Normally Lara and Lithis could buy us some time, but unfortunately we're running out of swords and going to the shop won't help us since we still have no gold. And taking our time isn't an option since an enemy hero with Astra, Luna, and 5 movement stars will charge at us until Leaf's dead. I can't pronounce his name without butchering it, so instead we'll just call him Papa G, since he's Marita's father. Spoilers, I guess. If we didn't go to 4X, we could have had Ced fight against these foes with Forsetti. However, because I wanted to recruit as many characters as I could get, Ced decides to fuck us over and leave. I have to retry this map, and on my second attempt, I said fuck this and went against the enemy. I was able to collect all the valuables I needed and escape just before Raedric summoned Papa G to chase us. As we escape from Raedric in chapter 7, we have one reset. It's not because of the reinforcements, but gosh did they play a part. The real reason is because Finn and Sophia joined this chapter, and When trying to get the group to rejoin ours, Finn gets poisoned in a game with permanent poison. Oh, did I forget to mention that? In Thracia, status effects are permanent, so if you get put to sleep, poisoned, berserked, or worse, silenced, you better pray that you have a restore staff. So post-reset, we make use of an exploit where we put a unit on the boss tile to prevent them from spawning, and prevent reinforcements of Cavaliers. We recruit Shiva, a Myrmidon that was in Chapter 2X, that we didn't kill because darkness, duh. Shiva has Soul, which in Thracia crits when activated and heals the unit. We save Sophia and Finn and make our way to the bottom of the map, where we sell off our broken weapons and we're about to enter the castle to escape, but
oh whoa, what's this an arena for me?
From no gold to 100,000 gold, we escape into a castle with everyone to clear the map. Entering Chapter 8, we finally get access to the one thing Thracia is known for: fatigue! See, Kaga had the wild belief that in order to get the player to use all their army, they should include a system that punishes each player for relying on the same 5 units. Don't know who would come up with that idea, but fatigue was introduced. Every action gives 1 point of stamina. If it goes above the HP threshold of any unit, that unit can't be deployed on the next map. To counteract fatigue, you can do one of 2 things. Either give a unit a stamina drink, which we don't have, or we can not deploy them for that chapter, to reset their stamina. Oh, and Leaf is immune to stamina because he's the protagonist, and as everyone knows, being the protagonist means you can't be tired or show weakness. Anyway, the reason I bring this up is because after last map's Arena Fest, all of our units got super fatigued and can't be deployed except Leaf, Finn, and surprisingly Hicks. But thankfully, these 3 are not alone, since we get Orson, Ronan, and Halvin for completing the last chapter. Oh, and Callian also joins this chapter. So we get 2 of our good units back. Callian shows potential, so I'll hold on to him until later, just until I can get him some experience. But if we hit the Gaiden chapter, we get 1 more with Dagdar showing up with Tanya. That means we need to complete the chapter before the boss mounts his ride. This is because when a unit mounts a horse or a dragon or whatever, they can't be captured. Thankfully though, we get the boss and all the rewards from the map before seizing with Leaf. Chapter 8X is a Fog of War map where we explore Dagdar's manor. I don't care how dark it is. Why the fuck did no one think to light a candle in the manor? Christ. There are some great goods in the manor. We need to bring a thief or 2 to get the rewards. These rewards include a book that teaches Wrath, a leg ring to increase movement, and the Near Scroll. The Near Scroll improves your HP, attack, defense, and con for whatever reason. We used the Master Seal we got last chapter to promote our only magic unit, our only attacking magic unit, Asbel, into a Sage. The map isn't that difficult. I mean, sure, we have a poison scare here and there, but nothing that terrifies me. Which is something I can't say about Chapter 9. In Chapter 9, we have to escape again, but we need to move quickly since enemy forces are charging at our escape point, which is being defended by... Actually, I don't care about any of these guys. All I care about is the Master Seal they hold. I'm only scared of losing the point because I don't know what happens if the enemies get there first. And we have to reset because I get surrounded, and because of our poor actions, Karen dismounts while surrounded by big, strong wyverns with killer lances. On our second attempt, we do much better, clearing the enemies and...
oh whoa, what's this an arena for me?
We level cap our units and escape and clear the chapter, with nearly 150,000 gold. Starting Chapter 10, we encounter Ballista on a map with houses in varying locations with thieves ready to raid them. While I don't care about the barrier staff, I care a lot about rescue, because of a certain map later on. Olwen also fights this chapter, and I remember that people care about her. To what degree, I don't know, but this gives me anxiety when she shows up as an unrecruitable enemy. I remember having trouble with this map, even to the point of resetting, but when skimming through the footage, I apparently didn't reset, or not as much as I thought, or only in the beginning. And Olwen and her retainer Alfred retreat, and we seize the map once again. Reaching chapter 11, we are brought to a pretty iconic map where Kempf is introduced and in prior versions of the English patch, call Olwen a bitch. This one act is all the proof we need to kill Kempf. Fuck, I keep misspelling his name in the script. Oh, sorry. This is all the proof we need to kill Kempf. Yes, the only reason. Not the child capturing, not sending Olwen into a dungeon and sending Alfred to die, just calling Olwen a stupid bitch. We respect women here at the company you've never heard of. We recruit Alfred by keeping him alive after falling into a clear trap set by Kempf. Luckily, we bring Lithis into the chapter to break us out, get the torch staff, and steal Kempf's Thoron and poison sword. I try to set up a capture against Kempf for his master sword, but Kempf proves himself to be the real bitch by teleporting to the basement instead of dying like a real man. With Alfred alive, we get the Gaiden chapter and a chance to save Olwen and more kids from the child hunts. Wait, if Loftus is trying to capture kids to make himself stronger, does that make him a predator? I mean, he's stripping them of their innocence and turns them into victims. Questions for another day, I suppose, because we're in another Fog of War map! What the Alfred rescues Olwen with the help of Leif, but once the cage opens, a meteor mage snipes one of the kids in retaliation. Who thought this was good game design? I just want to know. We recruit Olwen, save the remaining 2 kids, and have Asbel kill the boss to stop the meteor showers from killing our units. Chapter 12 is really interesting since you recruit Merida after being freed from hypnosis, and Salem, a former Lopterian mage. This chapter would be more fun if it wasn't Fog of War and Salem didn't have the sleep staff. After sitting on it for a while, I finally decided to give the Wrath skill to Lara. Having Wrath is nice, but Lara also has Vantage, meaning Lara can destroy units on enemy phase without fear of going second. At least that's what I thought, until I learned that Wrath didn't stack with Vantage. When did I find this out? After teaching her the skill, which was last chapter. We warp Lithis to steal Salem's sleep staff, and pray that he doesn't take too much damage from Salem and his goons on enemy phase. Merida can stand her ground pretty well, so we focus on trying to get the Heim Scroll and other treasures on this map. Luckily, we managed to clear the chapter with Salem in custody and a warped Leaf to the Seas Gate. Thanks to our fast clear, we get access to a Gaiden chapter, where we can turn Lara into a super soldier beyond that of a super soldier. Oh, also we get our shit stolen, lose out on some good treasure, and accidentally, not accidentally, kill Trude, the Myrmidon. But including Salem, we get 3 new characters, Kingmaker, and a nearly capped Lara. I must apologize to the Kingmaker though, I didn't realize how important it was and decided to keep it in the convoy for the remainder of the journey. A Kingmaker, it was not. Chapter 13 is next, and this chapter I was determined to level up Salem and Merida. Merida has some great potential, and I needed another mage besides Asbel, and Olwen wasn't cutting it. We're tasked to protect and escape to the city of Tara, which is surrounded by Imperial soldiers. Luckily, we don't actually have to move that fast, since a new recruit in the form of Glade with the Silver Lance can't die to most of anything the enemy has to offer. Despite this, we still have to reset when Salem and Merida get ganged up on by the Imperials and their blasted ballista. Or am I delusional and it's really Callian just stealing a bunch of kills that I wanted Merida and Salem to get? Whatever the case, the Imperials never stood a chance and we clear the chapter with no casualties and Salem promoting into a sorcerer. After escaping into the city, our next goal is to protect it again from more Imperials coming after Leif's head.
Oh whoa, what's this an arena for me?
No, this is a tough chapter and we can't get distracted. There's a good chance I might get someone killed or not get all the treasures I want if I focus on this. God. We get 2 new recruits in Dean and Ada, and of the 2, I like Ada more. This will cost me later when I bench Dean in future chapters for the red palette underleveled Draco Knight. We also get Homer thanks to Nana, but despite having a cool design and access to the light tome, I send him to the bench. I'm not kidding when I say this chapter is hard. There are soldiers coming from everywhere, Trying to play around the ballista is a tough ask when there are 3 points we need to protect. I was also scared of the wyverns that flew in later on. When I saw that they were foes and green, I assumed it was like an ally unit that we couldn't target. However, upon learning that this wasn't the case, I proceeded to move everyone in a defensive position to try and protect them from all the dragons. But just when I thought I encountered the worst Thracia had to offer, the game quickly grabbed me by the collar and asked, "Wanna see something cool?" before taking me for the ride of my life. 14 Gaiden has to be the most annoying map I had to deal with ever. Fog of War, plus new unit with only staves, plus kids, plus flyers, plus rewarp sorcerers. If this was a sign the game was going to increase the difficulty, then, well, this was it. I hated this chapter so much, and it all could have been avoided if it wasn't Fog of War. I am so glad that in future versions of this mechanic, it had been balanced for the player, cause this is just annoying as fuck. Our plan was to take advantage of all the dark mages to steal tomes for Salem and staves for the late game. But thanks to the Pegasus Knights, my only thought was about clearing the chapter as fast as possible while getting as many dark tomes as I could. I had so many resets to captures, or people being poisoned and too far away from a healer, or just being sniped by a Fenrir tome. It was so unfun, and when I finally cleared it, I switched off my recording so fast. Chapter 15 is a route split that determines whether you play the solar or lunar routes of Thracia. The solar route gets you Iros, Saluf, Misha, and Amalda. Pretty good units, but because we have Olwen, Iros won't join us, so... But then what does the lunar route give us? Well, we get Miranda, Shanam, and Conamore. A level 1 mage, and a bad swordmaster that isn't even worth the trouble recruiting. So yeah, we went the solar route, but not before recruiting Ralph and teaching Marita Astra thanks to the poor teachings of Shanam. The start of the solar route, we face off against Iros in a deceptively easy map. The trouble coming from the villages and the army wanting to double team us from behind. It's trouble alright, but for the price of soul and later good units, we buckle down and fight our foes. We get ready to seize the map.
Oh, whoa.
No.
What's this?
Stop.
An arena for me.
We don't need it. We cap out our units and proceed to seize. In chapter 17, we recruit a homeless girl from being indoctrinated into a child hunting cult and kill a green-haired Pegasus Knight. Man, for a route with superior characters, we're really good at killing them off. Don't get me wrong, I did my best to recruit her with Karen, but I always ended up killing her instead. But in all seriousness, Saria is a damn great unit, having both Wrath, Paragon, and Miracle. The only thing holding her back is not being promoted and starting at level 1. But then we reach chapter 18, which is famous for its infamous character recruitment. You see, the enemy commander Xavier is actually a recruitable unit. However, to recruit him, you need to jump through so many hoops that, again, it's not worth it. There are about 5 green units that need to talk with 5 different enemy knights. You must guide them through the halls where they can be hit by so many different enemy units, not including the ones that are ranged. You also have to be careful about having the right villagers talking to the right knights, or the knights will kill them in retaliation. The only strategy that people have come up with revolves around the sleep edge that can be found in chapter 16. So since that's an ass way of trying to recruit someone, I'm gonna be honest. I killed him. Why am I gonna go through all this for a character I'm not gonna even use? I smite his bitch ass and move on. Only after getting the chest though. Once the chapter is done, Leaf finally promotes, and instead of getting a badass promotion, he instead is like Roy and just unlocks the ability to level up again. Well, at least I can use you the next chapter and hopefully level you up, right? Well, no. Because of Leaf's recklessness that he was supposed to overcome by now, he sends half our troops to face off against a threat we aren't prepared to fight against. It's around this time that I start looking up our deployment order online because, let me tell you, having all the units you need to move far be at the top of the map is not fun. And why that's a problem is that all the low movement units are gonna get destroyed by the cavaliers at the bottom. You know, I probably should have went on the Luna route, because all the units that were better I ended up killing or failing to recruit. Either way, Leaf has his ego thrown into check, and I fail to get a single level up on him. That's okay, because I can level him up the next map, right? No, because Chapter 20 is a defense map where Leaf has to protect the throne while being assaulted by the boss Barret and his legion of ballista and meteor and bolting mages.
Oh whoa, what's this? An arena for me.
You really think I'm arena grinding this map? The foes are dangerous as hell, and if we can't regroup before the boss shows up, we'll be swarmed and slaughtered. It also doesn't help that I can't make use of the cavalry units because the majority of the map is indoor tiles. Oh, but back to the boss. This guy's nasty. Masterlands for brave and ranged effects, Fortify to keep his troops alive, and the Thread Scroll to prevent critical hits. God. Our strategy revolves around taking a Master Seal with one of our thieves and stealing Thread from the boss with the other. Everyone else needs to protect the pathways to the throne, so that way, Leaf doesn't get shot down by long-range snipers or gets bombarded by powerful foes. This map took a lot of attempts to get right, and really does sell the dire atmosphere that Leaf's army finds themselves in. The gameplay storytelling sold me, and that's why, unlike the other chapters, this one I really like, and never felt annoyed to go against. After that map though, we get a filler map that we used to—
Oh whoa.
Yeah, I was getting to that. See, Linowen, a priestess who we recruit a while back, has a forced promotion here. Normally, I wouldn't care, but since there's an arena, this was a good opportunity to raise not just her, but Leaf, Ada, and all the others that were casually sitting up on the bench until now. And thanks to the scrolls, arena grinding just meant taking our former units and turning them into super soldiers. And considering that our only magic units are Salem, Asbel, and Sarah, oh, and I guess Olwen, we could use the additional firepower from Linowen. Chapter 22 is the map that features the funny guy from Fire Emblem Heroes, Reinhardt. But to me, this chapter is more memorable for having the shop that sells Master Seals, Ballisticians up the ass, and Sias. Sias is such a pain in the ass to deal with, and the commander doesn't help. They're designed to status your units and burn away your restore staves. Can't silence them back because leadership stars mean you can't touch me, you little shit. And like before, we bring a ton of units to this map to build up into super soldiers thanks to the arena, and since a lot of them are not promoted, we could just promote them and cap them this chapter. Reinhardt has a conversation with Olwen and gives her a sword before they fight each other, and Olwen doesn't even kill him. It was Marita using her blade and landing a critical hit. The rest of the chapter is fairly easy after Sias and Reinhardt are gone, so yeah. In chapter 23, Leaf enters a conflict between the rebellion group known as the Magi that helped him escape from Manster before, and the knights who want him dead. Now, what's interesting about this chapter is that technically we can get one of two new recruits. One is Sias, the man who worked for the Empire, who turns Ko after learning of Manfroy's plot to kill him, leading to the death of his mother. Now he returns with a mission to deliver the Broggy's blade to Leaf, stop the twofold traitor Raedric, along with the Leptirians who plan to rule the world with their dark god. He has indirectly helped the party before by dispelling the curse over Marita and blessing the Shadow Sword, allowing Marita to wield it for good. Or Sed, who has Forsetti. It was a tough choice, but Forsetti is broken and Sias can kiss my ass with all the crap he pulled in the previous chapter. While I was playing this map, I was surprised that Ada was getting hit really hard by magic users and the foes in general. So I went to look into her stats and then it hit me. I forgot to promote Ada. I have no idea when we'll get another Master Seal or if we'll get another one to begin with, so I have to bite the bullet and accept that this is probably one of Ada's final maps. And it takes a lot of attempts to get right, but we finally managed to clear the map after saving all the kids, getting the Broggy Blade, and stripping Sias of all of his equipment. This is it, our final battle. We've made a lot of mistakes, Leaf, and nothing is ever going to change that. But let's kill this dastard, save Abel, and be done with it. Ah, sweet, I was able to reference Awakening properly, hell yeah. But this chapter does have Leaf face off against his primary antagonist, Raedric. In order to unlock the Gaiden chapter, You have to save all the kids and get the Kaya staff. Oh, and Sarah needs to be alive this chapter. We can recruit Papa G with Marita this map, and he is just a beast with a similar skill set to his daughter. Meanwhile, another team has to stop all the mages on the right side of the map who will inflict status effects on your army to prevent them from progressing forward. This map is tricky to say the least. I know you could do something funny this chapter by using the Thief Staff, but the only person who could use it I said no to, and has been sitting on the bench for a while now.
Got to think fast!
Mom, the bench is nice and warm.
I think this map would have been a lot harder if I didn't make my super soldiers with the Crusader scrolls. But even with them, we still had a tough time with all these scary enemies and trying to save all the children. Now that we're getting closer to the end of the game, I'm starting to bust out all the good shit in my attempt to keep up with the enemies. But regardless, the map is still hard. But Raedric was pretty easy, all things considered. All it took was 2 hits with the Bragi Blade to smite this dum-dum, and we seized the throne. By this point, I hope I've done a good job in describing what makes Thracia hard. Enemy placement and recruitment, infinite status, fog of war, but nothing in this game could have prepared me for 24 Gaiden. The Lopterian Altar. It's a fog of war like most of the other Gaiden chapters, but this map also has near infinite rewarping sorcerers who apply infinite poison on contact, and random unmarked warp tiles. Normally that wouldn't matter too much for me, but these warp tiles lead to a chamber that you can't escape from that is designed to kill off any player unit that gets sent there. Oh, and how could I forget? We're doing all of this to save Abel, the pre-promote that gets captured in the beginning of the game, whose stats aren't worth anything by the time you get her back for the final map. I swear if I ever return to this game, we are not coming back to this chapter. This map is hell to progress through, as you have to constantly be aware of your unit's placement on the map. Sorcerers who want to fuck up your run with a silence or sleep staff, and reinforcements that never seem to want to end. Oh, and you have to escape this chapter, meaning if anyone gets left behind, they are unusable for the final map. I'll just say this, whoever made this map, you are a funny guy, and if we ever personally meet, which is very unlikely, I want to know what went through your head when deciding that this was your way to make a penultimate chapter. Well, at least Leaf, Marita, and the gang get closure with Abel's return. Endgame. Sworn upon a sword. Honestly, unlike any other Fire Emblem game, this feels like the ultimate test to see how much you've learned throughout the game. With the exception of the boss, of course, but I'll get into that in a bit. This has to be one of the best finales to a Fire Emblem game I've ever witnessed. A boss rush to defeat 6 of the strongest enemy generals the game has to offer, all to unlock the final boss who can instantly petrify you or any of your allies with a single staff use. By the way, if you're wondering, this is the biggest reason I'll never play this game with only 5 units. You need 6 units to open the final gate to fight Veld, and you can't warp into the boss's room. I would need Leaf, Lara, Sarah, and at least 3 others and that's not even considering we don't get swarmed by reinforcements. There's no fog of war, thank God, but it does have a ton of status staves and strong foes with powerful skills. But the biggest problem with this map, outside of the potential softlock that's created when you don't have enough door keys or units, is Veld. Yeah, he can petrify your units with his stone staff, but beyond that, he feels very underwhelming compared to Raedric and the others. Bro doesn't even have a personalized weapon like Julius before him or Nurgle after him. But that aside, I will never forget the experiences playing this map. It was a super tough map, and it's currently the only Fire Emblem game where I had to sack units just to squeak out a win. So, rest in peace to our fallen soldiers. Lithis, after being turned to stone, and Asbel and Salem for dying for our sins. Thracia 776 is widely considered to be the hardest Fire Emblem game of all time. Mostly due to its mechanics, but partly for its map design and enemies. While I don't think that's too true, I have beaten Lunatic Plus Awakening, and think Endgame Conquest, Lunatic, is insane to think about. I do think Thracia is probably the hardest game to play outside of difficulty improvements. Base Awakening is fine, and so is Base Fates. But Base Thracia could absolutely kick my ass if I didn't play smart. I'll probably never forget my experiences with this game, and if you're interested, I would highly recommend playing it. Just, be prepared for all the roadblocks and challenges this game has to offer. And if you've played it and want to tell me that I'm a baby and this was actually the easiest Fire Emblem game, then let me know in the comments below. And while you're down there, leave a like and subscribe, as it really helps idiots like me who suck at promoting videos. But until next time, stay safe out there.